Cryptocurrency Libra. Bitcoin lower on the news after soaring past the $9,000 milestone earlier this week. But our next guest says this is just the beginning for Bitcoin's bounce back. Tom Lee, head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors, joins us on the phone now. Tom, big day for you, given your focus on Bitcoin. What do you ultimately think this new announcement, this new offering for Facebook means for Bitcoin?
The Facebook announcement is a complete validation that mainstream is now focused on cryptocurrencies, and I think it really destroys those arguments that say, I believe in blockchain, not Bitcoin. This is clearly a cryptocurrency play. But, the salvo or the real focus is like decentralized finance, and I think it is more targeted at stable coins and creating a new kind of banking system. And it's very complementary to Bitcoin. So I think this is actually a really bullish development for Bitcoin. I think it's really bad for stable coins and, anyone who's been trying to do decentralized finance.
So what happens to some of the other stable coins out there, like Gemini Capital, among others that have launched their own stable coin?
I don't think that they're going to drop in value because most of them are collateralized. I think the ones that are algorithmically stable just might not have the network effect. They might not have wide adoption. But ultimately, stable coins that are going to be the most widely used are the ones that are going to grow. That's why Tether's done so well, and I think Libra is going to ultimately be, one of the dominant stable coins.
Now,
although convertibility is going to be an issue.
Yeah. I see that. Interesting that when it comes to Libra, a lot of big companies backing this cryptocurrency, Tom, MasterCard, Visa, Booking Holdings, among others, but not one bank. So I guess the question is, if this truly was to become, a disruptor in financial services and being an exchange or a means of payment for businesses and merchants, wouldn't you expect one of the big banks to support it?
I think that I think the decentralization of banks is negative or is a negative return for traditional banking. It's probably really good for payment processors. One thing to keep in mind, Facebook's annual revenue per user is probably $50. That might be a little high. But an average bank generates close to $1,000 per user. So Facebook has a 20x upside to their customer model if they start doing, banking services. And so I can see why banks aren't really enthusiastic about this.
What's your price target on Bitcoin, given the news we learned this morning from Facebook?
Well, I think Bitcoin ultimately becomes the reserve currency in crypto. Bitcoin at 9,000 has only been at this level in 4% of its history. We're deep into a bull market, and people are pretty silent about it. I think Bitcoin is easily going to take out its all-time highs.
All right. Tom Lee, we're going to leave the conversation there. Thank you for joining us.
Great, thanks.
Some interesting points made there. And Anthony, I'm going to jump to you. What are your thoughts on Tom Lee's prediction? How are you trading Bitcoin based on this news that we learned this morning? Facebook getting in on the action.
Yeah, besides the Libra coin, I've liked Facebook's action lately. I had a winning trade last week, and I'm going to long again, but not just buy it right straight out at this point, because what we've noticed with Bitcoin is that it makes a new high during this year, then it consolidates a little bit lower, and then it starts making a new high again. So I'm looking for this thing to break out before I get long in this. We use this technique to stop ourselves into a trade quite frequently on futures now. So 9,500, that's the breakout. That's where I'm looking to stop myself into the trade, into a long. If I get that, then I put a stop in at 9,100 down below. And I think once we get through 95, it's going to make 10,000. And I'm hoping there's a little momentum through that. So that's why I put in my target at 10,200 to get out of the trade.
Brian, what do you make of this trade? And do you still see Bitcoin's potential role as a hedge against market uncertainty and, broader U.S.-China trade uncertainty?
Yeah, I love the trade. I like waiting for the stop buy-in here for it to move higher. And Seema, I also think it is a hedge against fiat currency. I think what we're seeing with Libra today is basically, like we talked about on air, is it will become basically a basket of currencies, right? So that's, in other words, another name for the dollar index. If you wanted to buy the dollar index and own sort of, or short it, whatever, against and have a basket of currencies, that's what that would be. That's what Libra is going to be, hopefully bringing stability. What will be interesting is if Libra becomes popular, why someone in Argentina or Brazil or Zimbabwe will own their own currency rather than own a stable basket through Libra and know what they're getting, know what they're going to be able to buy the next day when they wake up the next morning, versus the currencies in their own country that are what they are today. which is uncertainty. And so that will be interesting to see how that develops here. And I think if you want to move away from the central banking fiat, then you're talking about Bitcoin. Then you're looking at something that says, listen, central bank is another capitalistic way of creating socialism. Just print more money, make everybody more equal again. And if you're against that, and you're against true capitalism, then Bitcoin becomes the means of exchange, and that's why it continues to be a hedge, like you were asking.
Yeah, there's still some regulatory challenges that could challenge Facebook's success with Libra, but certainly an interesting development in the broader cryptocurrency